Hi stamping friends, it's Terry Gaines. I'm going to give you some assembly tips. I'm making a fun card very similar to a card I did a few weeks ago. Check the comment section for a link for this blog post and video. And I used several different dies to create this window card that you see the image on both sides of the window. For today's project, it's going to be using punches. So if you don't have a die cutting machine and dies, you can make this card using punches. So it's a fun card to make, so let's get started. You need a piece of designer series paper that is 12 inches by 5 1/4. I'm using a burlap print that is from the Press Petals suite of designer series paper, and it is a specialty paper, so it's a little bit thinner than the regular designer series paper. You get 6 different prints. They're all double-sided, and I'm going to use the burlap piece. It's a little bit thinner, and you will receive 4 of each of the designs in the packet, so 24 sheets. So this is the paper that I'm going to use for this project. And this paper, your designer series paper, needs to be scored at 2 different locations. So I am going to bring in the Simply Scoring tool to do that. It works perfect for scoring your projects or your papers for your projects. So what I'm going to do is place the paper all the way up to this wall and all the way up to this wall. You receive a stylus with the Simply Scoring tool. One end is large, the other end is small. Highly advised that you use the large end. When you use the Simply Scoring, always score straight down. If you're going on an angle, you could skip tracks. And for this specialty paper, go extremely light because you do not want to tear it. We're going to score it at 4 inches and at 8 inches, so go very lightly. Because designer series paper is printed on a white paper, inside is a white paper that's printed, so I like to score my designer series paper on both sides. Scoring your paper is really breaking down the fiber so it folds easily at that location. So the next thing I'm going to do is fold this paper, and we're going to make a mountain fold at the 4-inch mark. And I went really lightly. You can see where I scored, line the edges up, and just use your fingers to fold that. And then I'm going to fold it. So your 4 and 8 is actually folding it into thirds. So what I'm going to do is just line this up and crease this. I can see a little bit of the back print here, so if that does happen, I'm just going to recrease this. I'm going to go to a valley fold on that side and a mountain fold on this side. And look at that, it's even more noticeable here. So I'm going to go back to this location, and I'm actually going to bring my Simply Scoring tool back in. I find this very useful for many different things, and especially to line up paper. So I'm going to place this back in the corner, then I'm going to bring the paper top panel all the way to the edge, and then just make sure it's in there nice and square, and then just refold this because we really want that not to be visible here. So this corner is great for folding your papers as well as using it to score. So there we go. It took a little bit longer than I had hoped, but you got some tips on how I like to utilize the Simply Scoring. The next thing we need to do is create the window. I'm going to use a 2 1/4 inch circle punch, and we're going to be punching through both the first and the second panel. You can do this with designer series paper. I would not advise you to do this with 2 layers of cardstock. Punches aren't made to punch through that thick of paper. So what I'm going to do is come from the top down, and then I'm just going to turn it upside down so I can make sure it's all the way to the end of the punch. And then I'm visually going to look that I am centering this equal space, and punch out both layers. There we have the window for the card. So now what I'm going to do is adhere this to a coordinating cardstock. The cardstock I'm going to use is soft suede. It is cut to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to use my regular adhesive. I'll use the snail adhesive and apply adhesive to the back panel of the designer series paper. So the panel that was not cut. And I'm going to watch opposite corners as I hold the 3 panels together to get equal spacing on the top, bottom, and 2 sides, and then drop that into place. So we've got that portion done. The next portion, what I'm going to do is apply a piece of very vanilla cardstock to the inside. I have cut this to be 3 3/4 by 5, and I'm going to turn it on the side. I'm going to watch all 3 sides here and look for equal spacing and place that down. So that's the inside of the card. Now we're going to decorate the window. To decorate the window, you're going to open this up, and I'm going to use the Sprig punch for the greenery part. I have old olive cardstock. I like to turn my punches upside down so I can visually see what I'm punching. If you'd like to conserve cardstock with the Sprig punch, just flip it over and rotate that cardstock. Watch to make sure you're catching all the cardstock, and then just punch out. So we only need 2 for this project. And then we need the tulip tops, and I'm going to use the Tulip Builder punch for this. I'm going to use crushed curry and Poppy Parade for the 2 colors. So for each flower, we need 2 punches. And so I've got 2 tulips here, and I'm just going to show you how to put one of the flowers together. So again, you'd cut out some Poppy Parade. What I do is I bring my tulip image to a mini glue dot. As I mentioned, we need 2 per flower. So in this case, we have 2 sprigs. So we need 4 times 2. We need 8 flowers altogether. And then what I'm going to do is take your pick tool, and then I'm going to just place that tulip on the top of the sprig. Then I'm going to take the tulip with the mini glue dot, put it on my surface, and then I can visually, I'll move some of this so you can see what I'm watching. Punching makes lots of little scrap pieces. I'm going to visually place that down and then attach a tulip image to both sides of the sprig. I'm going to do that for the Poppy Parade and crushed curry. So I need 2 of these completed. To save some video time, I've done that ahead of time. So to attach these, I'm going to apply adhesive all the way around the perimeter of the second panel on the inside of the panel, along with adhesive right across the bottom. Across the bottom is where I'm going to place the 2 tulips. You can place these as high as you would like. I'm going to leave a little bit of space on the top for a sentiment. And I'm going to go every other color. And then what I'm going to do is apply some more adhesive right across here, because that's going to meet up to this side. And then I'm going to fold panel 1 on top of panel 2 and adhere that. And now we've got the flowers on both sides of the window. To finish this off, I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to stamp a sentiment. I'm using the stamp set one of the stamp sets that coordinate with the vase punch. It's called Vases. There's some really nice sentiments in that set. They're photopolymers, so you need clear blocks of stamping mat to stamp on, and just tap, tap, tap your ink onto the stamp. And I'm using soft suede. So I'm going to stamp the hello, and then the rest of the sentiment, I'm going to make sure that it is below the window opening. So the window goes about here, so I'm going to go a little bit lower than that. Let's make sure I don't tilt this stamp because I got excess ink on the clear block. There we go. It says, hoping your day blooms with happiness. The last thing I'm going to do is add a ribbon to the outside of the card. I'm going to use the crushed curry. I think this is 3/8 inch crinkled seam binding. Make a bow. I like to leave the ribbon on the spool. That way I feel I only waste whatever I trim off the end, and that's just a little bit in this case. And I'll put a link on the bottom of this video and in my blog post so you can see how I make my videos if you're interested. Bring the ribbon to the mini glue dot and then attach it to your card. And there you have a very fun window card, a Tulip Garden, and a fun card to make. Just switch up the punches and you can change the shape of the window. Here's a sample with a timeless label punch, and you have a different Tulip Garden, or switch up the color of the designer series paper. This is from the Bird Ballet, I think it is, the designer series paper. So just switch up the designer series paper and you have a fun card to make. If you found me via YouTube, look in the comments section for a direct link to my blog post where you'll find the supply list, measurements, and instructions for this project. There'll be a PDF tutorial you can download. Would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just click the red box under the video. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed creating this project with me. Stay safe and stay healthy.